Hey everybody, how you doing? How you doing? I hope everybody's doing well. Good to see you. Come on in. Come on in. Good to see you. Welcome to our weekly Powernomics training. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. So good to see everybody. I hope everybody's doing good. And also, I want to mention that I'm really sorry that I have had to cancel our classes the last couple of weeks. I had to travel to Greece and some other places, and it always ends up being one of these things where, like, I work everywhere I go. Everywhere I go, I try to be productive. I try to stay operational, no matter what part of the world I'm in, stuff like that. But sometimes you get in a situation where you literally just, it's literally impossible to do anything. And that might be like a situation where like I'm getting on an airplane or something like that. And, or I'm, so if I'm like 25,000 feet in the air, I can't conduct class or whatever. But believe me, every chance I can do it, I do it because this is really important to me. And I know it's important to a lot of you, and I appreciate the fact that it's important to you because it doesn't have to be important to you. You could definitely be doing other things, but since we have an alignment in values, I want to keep up my end of the bargain by being as consistent as possible. And so, consistency to me, that's how you change habits. That's how you change generational curses. That's how you change culture. Is you change culture with consistency, right? Like they did consistent things to brainwash us, so we have to do consistent things to just sort of deprogram ourselves, right? If that makes any sense. So let's keep being consistent. Let's keep it moving. And I'll say thank you very much also to Rianne. Rianne is part of our support team, and Rianne is in the chat. If you have any questions about anything going on with the Black Business School, you could talk to Rianne. She's right there in the chat. So thank you, Rianne, for joining us tonight. I appreciate that as well. And also, don't forget the All Black National Convention is coming up. It's really, really exciting. It's going to be in Atlanta, August 21st to the 23rd. And if you haven't ever seen it or just heard anybody really talk about it, I mean, it's the most amazing experience you'll ever have in at a Black event. I guarantee it. We this year's our 10th anniversary. It's going to be our biggest year ever, and it's going to absolutely positively be mind-blowingly good in the sense that we're going to have dozens of experts, like 70, 80 experts. It's going to be thousands of people. And this is LeVar Scott. He's right now he's the points leader in the ARCA series in NASCAR, and he's a young brother. I just texted him today, super smart. And so we bring in people from different walks of life, whether they are medical experts, psychotherapists, financial experts. Of course, we got you covered on that. Real estate, stock market, investing, everything else. Lawrence Eggleston, the Panther, the great trader that he is. You saw him in Money in the Morning. He's going to be there. And then also we typically have the B1 ball. Now this year, the ball's a little bit broader in the sense that we're partnering with the National Business League and Dr. Ken Harris. So we're gonna do that ball, and it's gonna be literally thousands of Black people, all fancy and really celebrating the greatness of who we are and all the amazing things happening in your community that you're never gonna see in mainstream TV because it's not ratchet, it's not built to be, a bunch of goofball ignorant stuff. It's Black family, it's Black wealth, Black power. Brother Nuri Muhammad, there he is right there, and of course you get to have fun. Nothing wrong with having fun. Even that's me. I cut a rug. That's Constance Carter. That's my wife doing her thing, and it's just so we do have the fun, right? But in the midst of all the fun, there's also learning. It's very family friendly. And it's going to be in Atlanta, August 21st to the 23rd. So if you want to come out and have fun with us, that's Jay Ortiz. He's a great rapper out of Philadelphia. He's the CEO of Art from the Heart, also this multi-million-dollar business that he has. And he's a very young man. And so anyway, it's very classy, very intelligent, very Black, unapologetically Black. And what I'm really proud of about the convention as well is that it's ours. It really is ours. It's not something that's like sponsored by Target or something. At McDonald's, Black Liberation brought to you by McDonald's. We don't do that type of thing. We actually raise the money and fund it ourselves because Black ownership is critical, right? We talk a lot about Black faces in high places. And that's Pastor James Wilson. He's teaching stock options to his entire church. That's how amazing the leaders are in your community. He's literally got his whole church in Cincinnati. I don't have the name of the church, but I went to visit their church, and they're literally teaching the whole church how to generate income with stock options. So what happened with this church, and I wish I had the name of the church in my head. If somebody knows it, put it in the chat. But they literally they invested together as a church and built a church economy where they start businesses out of the church, stuff like that. And they made this massive investment together, a multi-million dollar cannabis investment. And literally members of the church were telling me, oh yeah, we made $700,000 from that investment. Like this is real stuff. This is the kind of stuff that impresses me. Black love is always present. If you're looking for a good black man or a quality black woman, don't go on a balloon popping show and date these knuckleheads who are going to make life-changing decisions in 30 seconds based on what type of shoes you're wearing. Pick a woman who is judging you based on what kind of empire you're building. Pick a man that's going to judge you based on what type of mind you have, what kind of spirit and soul you have. So this is how you find your relatives. These are the types of people at the convention, young and old, every age group, because black family is everything. And this brother, oh, this is Brother Khalil. He is from the Nation of Islam. We have a lot of people from the Nation of Islam that come in on a regular basis because I'm a big advocate of what the nation does in terms of black family. Khalil's a good guy, super smart. He actually did my security, and so that brother, I didn't know he was in there, but yeah. So anyway, if you want to join us, we're going to be in Atlanta. It's going to be all fancy and everything, and you'll have a good time, and it's affordable for families. So you can go to allblacknationalconvention.com if you want to go check it out and be a part of the revolution. The revolution is televised, but it's televised in our space. It's happening right now. We're getting it done. We're making it happen. And there are millions of people that are on board with this. And we're serious about this. We ain't playing with nobody. We are getting this done. And can't nobody stop this show because we are not brought to you by Target. We're brought to you by the black community. So, anyway, guys, I hope that that was a good way to describe the convention. Those of you who've attended, I hope you will mention in the chat to everyone else what the convention is like. Be honest. Just tell the freaking truth, man. I ain't trying to pitch this to nobody. I ain't trying to lie. I ain't got to lie to kick it. Like we've been doing this for a decade, and it's literally changed people's lives. Like we have people whose lives are better. They have better, stronger families. They're more educated. They have more money in their pocket. So everything about black quality of life, we've actually solved that puzzle. That's not a puzzle for us. All we need is more people to believe that the solution it actually matters. It's a matter of really saying, like, okay, that we care enough to solve the problem and not just complain about the problem and talk about the problem and pontificate about the problem. I want a solution. All right. So anyway, if you're in that category yourself, then feel free to join us. You can go to allblacknationalconvention.com and come hang out with us. And by the way, do me a quick favor. Give me a yes if you can hear me okay. Is my audio okay? Because I had some problems earlier when I did my podcast. It was a little bit weird and a little bit jumpy. And so let me know if you can hear me okay. Latanya, Justin. Okay. I see you, Antoinette. Greg Harrison, Dr. Vibe, good to see you. Dr. Vibe's in Canada. Yeah, I gotta come up to Canada, man. I always have a good experience in Canada. Y'all got some good black people up there, and good black people in London too. London I never forgot our trip to London. It was really fun. All right, so anyway, let's hop in and talk about let's talk about what's going on with Dr. Anderson's book. The book is called Dirty Little Secrets. That's the one that we're reading, and he actually is giving us some real history about Jim Crow that you probably didn't get in school. These are things that you probably never heard, from other sources. And so, what I'm going to do is read to you what Dr. Anderson has to say about Jim Crow and what happened with their ancestors, what they experienced, and also what the legacy they left for you. Like a lot of times we think that they didn't do anything, they didn't try to build anything, they didn't leave us anything, but they left us a lot. Unfortunately, you've been lied to, and so it's important that we get our history from our own people. And so here it goes. I'm gonna start on page 141. The book is called Dirty Little Secrets. The website to get a copy of the book is powernomics.com. So you go to powernomics.com, you get a copy. It says here in 1776, Bill Richmond, a young black slave, was actually the hangman at the execution of Nathan Hale, accused by the British of being an American spy. Richmond later became a heavyweight boxer in Europe. Isn't that interesting? Okay. In 1814, after the British burned Washington, D.C., over 3,000 blacks, free and slave, built defenses to keep the British from burning the cities of Philadelphia and Baltimore. This is another mini fact. So he has these little mini facts of politicians and patriots. That's what he calls it. And so this was 1814. So when they burned Washington, D.C., there were 3,000 black people who basically saved Philadelphia and Baltimore. How about that? I don't know if y'all knew that or not, but that's what we can take credit for. There we go, saving America again. In 1901, after President Theodore Roosevelt invited Booker T. Washington to the White House, Booker T. Washington, the president of Tuskegee University, is coming to the All Black National Convention this year. And so he knows a thing or two about Booker T. Washington, who was one of the most remarkable human beings in the history of our country. In 1901, after the president invited Booker T to the White House, the South was incensed and reacted with violence against blacks across America. So black intelligence has always been a threat. This is nothing new. People like us have always been scary. People like us have always invoked anger, hatred, nasty behavior, violence, whatever the case may be. So don't be scared to be intelligent and strong. It's your job, right? So Booker T did his job. He went to Washington. He met with the president, but then he went and he built an institution. And in Tuskegee, that institution has graduated tens of thousands of black people since that time, maybe over 100,000. I don't know how many total graduates they've had, but I bet the number is very, very high. That's where the Tuskegee Airmen came from, right? Tuskegee, if you've ever been to that university, it's a beautiful institution, remarkable people there, just so impressive. My wife and I visited Harvard. And we also visited Tuskegee in the last 2 years. Those are the only two schools we really visited thoroughly, and we saw a couple others because our kids were going to college and all that. But Tuskegee was right there with Harvard, pound for pound, in terms of not just being intelligent, but also being black and intelligent. And Harvard was nice too, in its own way. But Tuskegee really felt like home. It felt like, okay, this is where we're supposed to be. So here's the thing. Here's what I love about Booker T. Washington, and I hope that you'll embrace this idea. I mentioned this earlier during our Money in the Morning class, and I want to say this again because I want us to really internalize and think about this. There's that book, Black Faces in High Places and Black Faces in White Places, or something like that. Those are two books written by two friends of mine, two guys I admire tremendously, Dr. Randall Pinkett and another brother, Dr. Jeffrey something. I can't remember his name, but he's a super smart guy, and I think he was the chancellor at Rutgers or something for a while. I don't know what he does now. I got to look it up. But if you see him, tell him I said hi, and I admire him, and I can't wait to see him again. But anyway, I thought about this and I said, isn't it interesting that we have a lot of conversations about black faces in high places, but what we don't really think about is on another level of saying, how do we create more black faces in black places, right? Instead of getting black faces in white spaces, I think that the power really is when you have black faces in black spaces. Do you understand? Right? Like we will talk all day about getting into the space, but there's not enough conversation about owning the space, not enough conversation about creating the space. In fact, I heard Mark Jackson, who's a really great basketball coach. He was doing a video and he was doing a little walk and he was talking about, I think he was talking about getting coaching jobs in the NBA. And he said something that's 100% true. He said, if you are qualified for the job, you should be confident in yourself and God will give you the opportunity you deserve, right? So he mentioned two things. It was three things actually. He mentioned being qualified, he mentioned getting the job, and he mentioned that God will make sure that you get that opportunity. And so I listened to this and I said, I agree with you. I mean, he's very qualified, right? He's a great coach and everything. But I said, isn't it interesting that the conversation for us is if you're qualified, maintain your confidence, even though you're going to be sad, maybe because they don't give you the opportunity you deserve. But then God is going to step in and talk to the white man. He's going to whisper in his ear and basically get him to give you the opportunity you deserve. Right. And to some extent, what you're really indirectly doing is you're really referencing the white man almost like your God. Right. So when the white man shows up and says, boy, I see your talent. I see how great you are. Even though you can't see how great you are, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but now you're getting the validation you deserve. Do you follow what I'm saying? You're getting that recognition that you needed, and now and then what do? You go to church and you say, "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God, for for partnering with my other God to create an opportunity for me for my talent to be sort of to be recognized." And what's really unfortunate about that is that you're putting yourself in a situation where you're really bound for a lot of sadness. You're bound for a lot of depression because you don't get to decide if your talent's going to be recognized. You don't get to decide if you're going to be seen. Someone else gets to decide if you're going to be seen. And so then what happens is you have a pool of talented black people, 100,000 talented black people, 2% of them get seen, and they're thankful to God for giving them this opportunity, but there's the other 98% who end up depressed. Do you follow what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? Right? And why is that? Well, because you have that 100,000 people all looking to be the black face in the white space when the white space does not have room for all the black faces that want to be there. Do you understand? Like if the white space is filled with black faces, then it's no longer a white space anymore. It becomes a black space, which naturally, in the minds of many people, will degrade the value of being in that space. Do you follow what I'm saying? And studies show this. I don't know if y'all know this or not. This is a good DEI conversation. But did you know that studies show that there's a threshold that if a neighborhood or a corporate office gets more than like 7 to 10% black, people start to look at it differently. It starts to become something different. They're like, okay, this is no longer a white neighborhood, so it's not as nice, not as good. It's now a black neighborhood. We got to get out of here, right? Or this corporate office, we'll bring in a few black people, but we don't want so many black people that it starts to become a black space, right? So ultimately, what I would say to you is that getting black faces into white spaces or black faces into high places is not empowering at the end of the day. It's not very empowering. What's empowering is making the investment of creating black spaces and pouring into those spaces until they become high spaces, right? Something becoming a high place really means that it has value. Things have value when someone has invested in those things. Do you understand? Like if you have an athlete that is high, that is valuable because he's been trained at the highest levels, well, that athlete is valuable and he's highly trained because somebody poured into him. There's a coach that invested time into making sure that athlete was trained. Let me know if you're following what I'm saying. Let me know if you're getting what I'm saying. This is an abstract idea. I want to make sure everybody understands this, right? The more you invest in something, the more valuable it becomes. If you got a bank account and you don't put money in the damn account, then that's not going to be a valuable account. But if you have an account and you pour 80% of your income into that account and you do that consistently over a 30-year period, well, you're going to be a rich Negro. Do you understand? You will be very wealthy because you invested in this account. It's not the account that makes it valuable, it's the fact that the account has money in it. So a space is not naturally valuable. A space is just a space. But if you invest in that space, then that space becomes a valuable space. That becomes a high space or a high place. Right? We have these high places, and so what is a high place? Oh, it's a place where rich people, important, powerful, right? Whatever, right? Like, and there are these places that are seen as important, like the Met Gala. You know, where everybody shows up and they dress like a tree trunk and they wear goofy, stupid costumes that look like Disney characters in a horror movie, right? Or somebody will show up wearing a piano on their head or something crazy. But the Met Gala is seen as a high space. I don't see it as a high space. I see it as a place. It reminds me of that song. You know that song, "The Freaks Come Out at Night," right? Like the people that show up at the Met Gala, half of them look crazy, half y'all look mentally ill. But they do that because they see that as a high place. So they say, I want to be a black face in a high place. So therefore, I'm going to go to the Met Gala. Well, here's the thing. If you really want to be in a high place, then sometimes you can knock on the door and say, "Hey, sir, can you let me into your high place and I can bring my black face and I get the chance to show off." And that you might get lucky and you might get let in, but then when they decide they want to put you out, they can put you out. What's better is to say, let's create a black place and let's make it a high place. We're gonna take this black place and when you tell me to go to the white place, I'm not interested in going to the white place because I'm gonna go to the black place because I know that I have value. See, it's understanding your worth. If I know my worth, then I know that my worth is not dependent upon your acknowledgement of my worth. I don't need white folks to see me for me to know that I'm damn good at what I do. I know I'm good whether you see me or not. If you see me, you're not making me into anything. You're simply seeing what was already there. Do you understand the difference? Do y'all get what I'm saying? So when they see me and they say, like anybody, I don't know if anybody heard that where the president was telling the African leader that he speaks good English or something. Your English is very good. Where did you study, right? And a lot of people got offended by that, which I guess I can see that, right? It's kind of because like all the leaders know English. Come on, man. But still, a lot of us, when we get that acknowledgement, it actually feels like something that's making us into something other than what we were. Like now I am somebody because they saw me. And what I'm saying to you is that If you're somebody whether they see you or not. What really matters is not whether or not they see you. What matters is whether or not you see you. And also, what matters to me is not whether they see me. What matters to me is that I see me, I saw me, and then now a lot of y'all see me. That's all I need. That's all I need. So this black space is a high place. It's a high place because, well, because look at all the talented people in here. I go through this list. In fact, how many of y'all are black professionals? How many of you have advanced degrees? How many of you have some wealth in your family? Give me a yes in the chat. How many of y'all are some successful, established Negroes who've accomplished great things? Put yeses in the chat. Everybody who's like, pop your collar a little bit, brag about yourself. It's okay. Go ahead. Just put your yes in the chat. A lot of you, and I know that you are because I meet you. A lot of you are millionaires. A lot of you have extraordinary families. A lot of you have kids in Ivy League schools. A lot of you are executives in your firms. A lot of you are medical doctors and college professors and hardworking fathers and football coaches who won the state championship, right? So this is a high place. Do you understand? We are black faces in high places. We are black faces in a high place. And the beauty of it to me that makes me excited is that if I want to be a black face in a high place, I ain't got to leave the seat that I'm sitting in. I can sit, I can wake up in the morning and walk to my laptop in my drawers and be in a high place. I don't have to get dressed up in a fancy suit and go across town and hope that white people see the value I can bring to the world. No, I don't give a damn what you see. I poured my energy into this. I've invested in this space to make it into a high place. See, so think about this. If I had spent all my time trying to impress these people and those people and like, oh, I don't want to leave Syracuse because I want to be a black face in a high place. Right? Then I wouldn't have had time to pour into this. But it's a high place because we made it one. Do you understand? I made it. You made it. Well, we're all making it one, right? So now we have a high place we can pass down to the children. Do you understand? So to me, this is a microcosm of what black investment needs to look like. See, what you got to understand is let's go back to that analogy earlier when I was telling you about like when Mark Jackson was talking about, you're qualified and they're gonna see your worth and God's gonna make sure you get your opportunity. Not knocking that at all. But really, give me a second. I'm choking. Hold on. But really, you got to be careful with that language because what you're doing is you're basically claiming that your outcome, your access to a high place is going to be determined on what by someone else's behavior, someone else's choices. So if I go to work and I pray to God that the white men I meet are going to give me an opportunity, then to some extent I'm making the white man into my God. The only way I get an opportunity, the only way I can be seen, the only way I can avoid the sadness and depression that plagues so many millions of our people is if God whispers in his partner's ear, which is the white man, and the white man looks down and says, boy, I think I like you enough to give you an opportunity. That's not a world I want to live in. That's not the world I want our kids to inherit. I want our kids to inherit the power of being that economic God in their own life. And by the economic God, I mean the ability to truly manifest whatever it is you'd like to see. This is why I love the Nation of Islam so much because my friends from the Nation of Islam, they're not the ones who are going to say, oh, well, this neighborhood needs a grocery store. I hope somebody builds a grocery store. My friends from the Nation will say, this neighborhood needs a grocery store. Let's build a grocery store. Let's fund it. Let's raise the money. Let's operate it. In fact, they're not even going to go tell the white man the neighborhood needs a grocery store because they don't even want him to have access to that opportunity. You got gold buried in your backyard, and you are out here begging other people to come dig for the gold. If I have gold in my backyard, I ain't telling nobody. Do you understand? Right? So you got the most talented children on earth. You have all this cultural capital, all this intellectual capital. You have some of the greatest ideas in history. And the first thing we want to do is when we get a good idea or we find some value or find something, some sort of asset that we're in possession of, whether it's our culture or our ideas or whatever it is, our athletes, first thing we do is we want to go advertise it to a colonizer and say, hey, I have value here. Can you want to come get it? And then he comes in, he makes a deal that is heavily in his favor. He comes in, he digs the gold out of your backyard, he gives you 2% of it, and then you walk away complaining that you got exploited. But you got to remember that that exploitation to some extent was a partnership. You chose to be exploited. You sought him out. You invited him into your house. He may not even he may have had other things to do, but you called him on the phone 50,000 times hoping he would see your talent, and then he saw it, and then he ends up benefiting from it, and then you say, "Oh, those wascally white people, they took all my wealth again." No, they can't take it if you don't keep giving it away. So what I'm saying to you is I want you to understand the ability to see your wealth, and to also benefit from that wealth, to monetize that, to be able to activate that wealth, that talent, that power that you have. You've got the juice. You just have to learn how to turn on the damn juice machine and stop being scared. Okay. All right. Now my wife is calling me. I hope y'all don't allow me to do something real ghetto and answer this call because she's gonna get mad if I don't answer. Give me a second. Hey, babe. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, she disappeared. So I'll just tell her I'm in class. All right, so she may call back though. She may call back. All right, so let's hop back in here again, and don't forget. So if you want to come to the convention, it's allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. So I'm going to read from page 141 of the book "Dirty Little Secrets" from Dr. Claude Anderson. This book can be found at powernomics.com, and it says here, the burning of Jamestown. The landing of 20 Africans at Jamestown in 1619 from a Dutch ship marked the formal, or sorry, it marked the quote unquote formal beginning of the African American experience in America. So 1619, Jamestown, 20 Africans arrived. For the next 20 years, African blacks struggled to avoid developing caste systems, while poor whites struggled under British rule to avoid a developing white class system. White aristocrats and British officials feared that poor white frontiersmen and African blacks would band together to overthrow the British governor of Virginia. Okay, so they were afraid that poor white frontiersmen and African blacks would get together. Okay, and indeed they did. In 1676, in what history called Nat Bacon's Rebellion. Bacon's Rebellion. Anybody heard about that? It was the first popular rebellion in colonial America, and blacks, both free and enslaved, participated in it. Nathaniel Bacon, a cousin to the scientist and philosopher Sir Francis Bacon, led the troops in rebellion against the colonial governor of Jamestown, Virginia, which was established in 1607 as England's first permanent settlement in North America. Nat Bacon's rebellion was the first of about 20 minor uprisings that demonstrated a new anti authority attitude in America. For blacks, it was the beginning of a long standing pattern. Blacks demonstrated their patriotism by burning down the capital of Jamestown. But after the uprising was suppressed, Nathaniel Bacon was dead, and his black and white associates were either killed or outright or hanged. Ironically, this black white rebellion foreshadowed in nearly every respect and laid the groundwork for the Revolutionary War, which followed nearly a century later. Isn't that interesting? So here's another one. Jim Crowism frames the 20th century. Despite the fact that blacks had volunteered to fight in every war, even before this country was a nation, and were overrepresented in the Korean and Vietnam conflicts, some members of white society continued to perceive them as less than patriotic. As far back as World War I, the United States government issued an edict demanding that all men work or fight, engage in productive labor, or join the army. Enforcement of the directive, however, was directed most intensely at black men. As they had so often done, blacks heeded the military call and served with high distinctions. They were some of the most decorated and recognized soldiers in World War One. Black soldiers received so much positive publicity in Europe, it triggered a white backlash in the military as well as the civilian sector. A lot of you all are soldiers here. I know this for a fact because I know the types of people that tend to hear my message, and I appreciate you so much. And I mentioned 1,000 times, I'll never disrespect soldiers in this space. I don't allow that at all. And so I want to say thank you for your service. I appreciate you very much. And so here's this. So check this out. A secret memo went out on August 7th, 1918, called Secret Information Concerning Black American Troops. Ooh, this sounds juicy. What is this? It was issued by General Blackjack, General Blackjack Pershing himself. Was he black? I'll just keep reading. It was issued by General Blackjack Pershing himself. It informed the French people and the army that the Negro was really, quote, an inferior human being. Okay, I hope he wasn't black. That would be terrible. So they they told the French people and the army that the Negro was really an inferior human being. High-ranking administrative staff issued orders forbidding blacks to associate with French women because you know what was going on in that bedroom. They didn't want they were scared of the competition. Who can blame them? We're quite intimidating. In response, General Belosa of the French army ordered blacks to stay away from places where they were not wanted. Hmm. Although 1,300 of the crosses in Flanders Field in France marked the graves of black American soldiers, those who survived were neither permitted to socialize with white women nor take part in the Great Paris Victory Parade. Wow. So Taylor's dance, just so you know, my wife sent me a text. I got to share because I have this thought and I got to let it out. But it looks like I told you I was in Florida for the dance nationals, and apparently her team, they are the national champions and they're going to go run in the ocean. And so I got to finish up early so I can go run to the ocean with them because I ain't gonna miss this. So forgive me for running off and being a dad. All right. All right. So I'm gonna tell my wife to let me know where y'all are at and tell me when you go so I can end class. So there we go. All right. All right, so there's Taylor. There's my life. Thank you for your patience. All right, so let's keep going here. All right, okay, so this is France. So it's interesting because what this makes me think about is how America has always tried their best to really disparage the image of black people all around the world, right? So this goes all the way back to 1918, all right? So where they're misrepresenting us, uh, claiming us to be something other than what we're not. This is true to this day. They do this with hip hop music. They have everybody around the world thinking black men are a bunch of buffoons who just want to sit around and get high and drunk and kill each other, and they hate their women and don't want to take care of their kids, and the stereotypes get reinforced every day. I saw something where there was some NBA player who married a lady and got her pregnant and then divorced her like 6 months into the pregnancy. And I just said it's so fascinating that we just don't even bat an eye when we create yet another child that isn't going to have a mother and a father in the house, which is quite interesting, right? It's quite interesting that this is what gets marketed when this doesn't represent who we are. That isn't the best of us. So the next section says Yankee Doodle may have African roots. Yankee Doodle, a popular national song of a century ago, may have an African origin. Yankee Doodle shows a strong similarity to a slave song from Suriname, which goes like this. Mama Nanny goes to town, buy a little pony, stick a feather in a ring, call it Maserati. What do y'all think? Guilty or you think they're innocent or guilty? You think they stole that? You know they come on. What do y'all think? Isn't that interesting? So Yankee Doodle apparently is truly a song that was made by black people, but then again, what wasn't created by black people? All right. So here's the next section. It says Woodrow Wilson deceived black voters. This is page 143 of the book Dirty Little Secrets by Dr. Claude Anderson. You can get a copy of this book at powernomics.com. So go to powernomics.com and get copies for your kids and for your family. All right, Woodrow Wilson needed the black vote to win the election. He was heavily racist, by the way. Woodrow Wilson needed the black vote to win the presidential election in 1912. In a formal statement to blacks, Wilson said he, quote, wished to see justice done to the colored people in every manner, and not mere grudging justice, but justice with liberality and cordial good feelings, end quote. Wilson further stated, quote, I want to assure them, the Negroes, that should I become president of the United States, they may count on me for absolute fair dealing, for everything by which I could assist in advancing the interests of their race in the United States, end quote. With such a public pronouncement, black leadership abandoned the Republican Party and rushed to support Wilson. W.E.B. Du Bois was one of the first to champion Wilson's candidacy. He was followed by Booker T. Washington, the NAACP, the National Independent League, and the Colored National Democratic League. Black America responded to their leadership and gave Wilson their votes. Their 100,000 votes put Wilson over the top and into the White House. After Wilson won the election, Congress drafted and sent to the president for his approval the greatest flood of new laws that discriminated against blacks that had ever been introduced by the United States Congress. The proposed laws advocated segregation on public carriers, in hotels and workplaces, and total exclusion of blacks from military and federal jobs. President Wilson thumbed his nose at black people and approved all of the proposed laws that propelled black people backward. Conditions became unbearable in the South, and that triggered the great migration of blacks from the South to the large urban cities in the North between the 1920s and 1930s. Wilson encouraged the rigid maintenance of Jim Crow segregation in every department of the federal government. In offices that traditionally hired blacks, the jobs were given to deserving white Democrats. So Woodrow Wilson was one of those first presidents to cut all the DEI programs. So even in the departments that black people were traditionally hired, he wanted to get white people in there. And he, as it happened to be a Democrat, not to say Republicans are any better. Y'all know how the game works. He literally lied to black people. And this is so interesting. This pretty much says that politicians have been lying to you for at least 115 years, probably longer than that. Right. So he got black people to vote for him by promising to do all these wonderful things. Does that sound familiar? Anybody ever seen that before? Right. Making all these promises about how they're going to change your life and make it better. And then as soon as he got into office, not only did he not keep any of the promises, but he went in the other direction and actually took jobs away from black people. Isn't that fascinating? In offices that traditionally hired blacks, the jobs were given to deserving white Democrats. Scores of blacks were summarily fired, so they fired lots of black people. Sounds like the presidency now, actually, because a lot of government jobs that were held by black people are now gone. Blacks were not allowed to compete economically. Throughout the South, abuse escalated, lynching skyrocketed. Blacks, as well as their crops, were burned. Their animal stock was poisoned, and kerosene doused their cotton. So this is why the reparations debate isn't a debate. There's no debate on reparations. Stop arguing. Stop playing with me. Stop arguing with me about reparations. You have no standing on this. The little power or voice that blacks had was stripped from them. All sorts of schemes kept them from voting or having their cries of pain heard. While his black supporters were being killed and abused, President Wilson failed to issue a single word in their defense. Like so many great white leaders before him, President Woodrow Wilson became just another great deceiver. Isn't that fascinating? How about that? Isn't that wonderful? How cool is that? Okay, all right. Woodrow Wilson. And at Princeton, they named their public policy school after Wilson. So if you are associated with Princeton, y'all got work to do. All right. All right, so a black spy in the Revolutionary War. Let's switch gears. In March 1781, James Armistead was granted permission, by his owner, William Armistead, to serve in the Continental Army and became one of the most important spies of the American Revolution. The information that James Armistead acquired aided his commander, Marquis de Lafayette, a Frenchman serving in the American Army, to defeat the British at Yorktown, Virginia on October 17, 1781. Lafayette became an immediate hero. Armistead returned to being a slave. Although Lafayette wrote a letter urging for Armistead's freedom, it was not until 1786 that the Virginia General Assembly intervened and granted his freedom. Armistead later showed his appreciation for being freed from slavery by adopting the name of the famous Frenchman Marquis de Lafayette. All right. So this is a black hero at Bunker Hill. Although the black race was itself enslaved, free blacks fought and died to help America's white colonists win their freedom. Peter Salem of Framingham, Massachusetts, along with several other free black men, were among the Minutemen who launched the Revolutionary War at the Concord Bridge in April of 1775. A couple of months later, in June at Bunker Hill, Peter Salem fired the fatal shot that killed the British commander, Major Pitcairn. Salem continued his efforts to free the nation from British rule, fighting in the battles of Saratoga and Stony Point. Free blacks joined the revolutionary struggle to seek dual freedoms, first for the new nation, then for themselves and other members of the black race. They hoped that helping the white colonists win their freedom from British economic bondage would translate into freedom for the black race. Ha ha! Right, sucker. They helped to win America's independence, but black freedom did not come with the victory because they're not going to let go of their slaves. Blacks betrayed in the Revolutionary War. In November 1775, Lord Dunsmore, the British royal governor of Virginia, proclaimed that all slaves, quote, able and willing to bear arms, end quote, for the British would be liberated. The free blacks who followed Dunsmore were tricked. In fact, the British treated slaves as captured property, shipping a few of them to freedom in Canada, but most were reassigned into slavery in the British West Indies. Hmm. So they just lie. They just lie. But see, they don't know why I don't. That's why I don't trust. I don't trust none of these people say. So anyway, some were returned to the British colony of Sierra Leone in West Africa. A few escaped from bondage in the confusion of war and migrated to either Canada or Florida as free people. About 5,000 blacks served in the British Army and Navy in non-combat status. In the end, a British promise of freedom for all, in fact, was freedom for a very few. So you got your British cousins across the sea, and they can be racist too. I went to London in 2017 and I got detained, and they kept me. It was, I guess I'm a dangerous Negro or something, and they kept me in this room for like 8 hours, and there was no TV or anything. I couldn't talk to anybody, and I tweeted. I think I said something on Twitter. I said, "Yeah, I'm detained in England," and they won't let me out. And then this lady comes up to me. It was a black lady, and she came up and said, "We saw your tweets, and we would like for you very much not to do that anymore, right? Like if you do that again, it's gonna be your ass." It was quite an experience. Yeah. So shout out to Black London. I love Black London. White London is a little bit iffy. All right, there's my wife. Hold on. Hey, babe, I'm in class. What's going on? I know. I wanna know where you're gonna be at. Are y'all gonna go to the water? Are they there now? Tell me where you. I don't know where you are. I gotta go find you. Okay, I don't know what that means. So how can I meet you? I mean, they're all listening to you right now. They all know that Taylor's team won the national championship. They're really listening. Like there's a few thousand people listening, but it's okay. It's okay. We I love them and they love us. So go ahead. Okay, okay. At the Garden, I got it. Okay, so when you get here, let me know. Call me back when you get here. Oh, come get me. Come get me. Let me know when you're here. I'll hop in the car with you. But we're talking about black people. Okay, are you here now? Okay, call me when you get here. All right, I love you. Bye. Tell Taylor I said congratulations. All right. Thank you for your patience. I know that's so ghetto, but we family by now, so you know. All right. So let's keep going. All right. So last one. Let's read this, and then we'll finish up on that note. Because there's actually more in this chapter I'd like to finish up on, but let's jump in. All right. Black politicians, a rare breed. The first Black caucus came into existence in Congress during the Reconstruction period of 1871 through 1876. They came with high visibility, but only in rare instances were Black elected officials ever in charge of or in control of anything of importance within local, state, or federal offices. Blacks were effectively shorn. I don't know, shorn, maybe short of real political power. And as a relegated labor class, they remained at the mercy of the ruling white power structure. Again, nothing's changed. But their faith in the national political parties remained strong. Of course it did. From the 41st Congress through the 44th, 1869 to 1877, a total of 14 blacks were at various times members of the U.S. House of Representatives. They were from South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, North Carolina, and Louisiana. There were two blacks in the U.S. Senate, a governor and a commissioner of education. They were all members of the party of Lincoln, the Republicans. Lacking an economic base, their election was more form than substance. There's the economics again. Economics is everything. For all intents and purposes, their tenure ended with Reconstruction. During their short period in office, they were blamed for everything that was wrong in government, even though whites held the reins of power from Congress to the lowest local positions in county seats. Long before the end of the 19th century, Northern whites had abandoned blacks. So these are your friends, these are your allies. Northern whites had abandoned blacks. Southern whites picked up the hint and began to use legal and extra legal means to run blacks out of politics. With limited experience, resources, and training, blacks on the whole actively fought for progressive legislation for the people, but like the dinosaur, they disappeared. In 1931, quote unquote, Negroes returned to the United States Congress after an absence of 30 years, and for the first time since the end of Reconstruction. The representatives were Oscar DePriest of Chicago, 1931 to 35, Arthur Mitchell of Chicago, 1935 to 43, and William L. Dawson of Chicago. There were two other congressional Democrats, Adam Clayton Powell of New York and Charles Diggs of Detroit. They were flamboyant personalities, outspoken advocates for black people who had little power to bring about significant changes, but boldly challenged the system. So shout out to these individuals that did the best they could with what they had. I think I have a better plan. I really do. And I think that the plan is one that starts with shifting culture and shifting values in terms of how we operate on a family-based level. I would tell you that if you want real power, you don't start with having the power to control the world. What you do is you want to have enough power to control your world. That's it. You ain't got to control nobody else's world. You ain't trying to be a colonizer. You ain't trying to be a colonizer. Do you understand? Your goal is not to be a colonizer. Your goal is to fight off the colonizer, right? And a lot of y'all understand military strategy. A lot of you are military minded. A lot of you are soldiers. Some of you that are not, that's okay. We can explain it. But you will hopefully agree with me that it is easier to defend the position that you're standing on than it is to go out and try to conquer the positions that are controlled by other people. Do you understand? So this idea of trying to be the black face in the white place or the black face in the high place, right? That's hard because you're fighting battles away from your home territory. You're like a basketball team where every game is an away game. You're not going to have the same number of wins as the players that stay on their home court. So the question becomes to me, what is your home court? Are you clear about what your home court is? Because if you pick your home court, then you can put that energy into fortifying and defending the home court, right? Which isn't it's not a territorial conquering of other people. It's simply a protection of yourself. Do you follow what I'm saying? Right? So I would encourage you to literally sit down and say, what is my home court? What do I want that to look like? So if I'm a father or a wife or whatever, our home court starts with the family. And then maybe it's the church, and then maybe it's the school that we build as a community, right? My home court might be the space at the All Black National Convention or whatever it is. I'm not really concerned with what's happening everywhere else. My resources are going to be poured into defending the home court. Do you understand? So fortify your own space. Start with your own life as well. Like, defend, because remember, I told you capitalism is very territorial, it's very expansive. The goal of capitalism is to enslave you. And most people, because they don't understand how capitalism works, they end up slaves. They end up being slaves. Right? Go ask them on a Tuesday, like, hey, what are you going to do today? Most of them are going to say, well, I got to go to work. You're a slave. You got to go do something someone else is telling you to do because you don't have the freedom to decide what you want to do for yourself. I'm not making fun of anybody, but it's true. Right? Well, how do you become a slave? Well, because no one ever fortified you. No one ever gave you, no one ever prepared you to have enough resources in your pocket so that you could choose not to go to work if you wanted to. Do you understand? So this is where little basic simple ideas. It's not this ain't complex. Simple ideas. $5 a day of investing. I'm investing for my kids from the time they're little. So by the time they hit a certain age, they're nobody's slave. They're nobody's slave. They don't have to be a conqueror. They just have to be in a position where they can avoid being conquered. Do you follow what I'm saying? It's not hard to do. No one's going to stop you, but what they do is they've already controlled you up here, and by controlling you up here, what they do is they trick you into doing things like going deep into debt, giving away all your money, limiting your skill set. So all you know how to do is go to school and give $200,000 to a big white university, which gives you a license to go work for a white man, and you think that that's what you're supposed to do because you see all the other Negroes doing it. And I'm telling you, this does not work. This is not power. This will not strengthen you in your life. You won't feel empowered when you do these things. So you got to shift the model just a little bit. And I guarantee you, you're going to feel 1,000 times freer than any of these whack ass politicians are ever going to make you feel. They don't have the power, nor do they have the will to come and save your life. How the hell they gonna come save you when these suckers are drowning themselves? They can't even swim. They up here drowning, and you waiting on them to come and be your lifeguard. They're not qualified for the position. Do you understand? So keep yourself afloat, and then maybe you'll become a good enough swimmer where you can save some of these misguided Negroes that are out here, right? And some of your kids are going to be able to do that as well. Last point I'm gonna share before I go, because y'all know I got to do the family thing, is is this. I was thinking about this too. One little quick, just random thought. I put it on my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. If you want to find me on Instagram, I'm also on Spotify. You can look up my name on Spotify, and I have a couple podcasts there if you want to follow that. I was thinking about like when your kids turn 18, a lot of us, believe that kids should be put out of the house at the age of 18. And one of the things I think you might want to consider is this. Look, if you have your kid in the house after the age of 18, I think it's okay to let them pay rent. I think it's okay for them to understand the importance of contributing to household finances. So let's say you charge them $400 or $500 a month in rent, and then you take that money and you put it into the S&P 500 and you hold it for them until they're about 25 years old. By that time, they'll have between 90 and $100,000 most likely, and that's enough capital. That's a big enough capital base for them to go off and put a massive down payment on a house, or to maybe even buy a rental property that they can then own and then rent that out to other people, or they can buy a bunch of stock and start selling stock options like we do in our stock options class and make more money than most people make by going to work every day. That's something I just want to throw in your ear, something for you to consider. I think this is a simple idea that, if it's implemented properly, can make a massive difference in the life of your kid. Because one of the things you got to understand about this economy is that America's economy is powerful, but it's kind of like a a really fast car that's on its way to crashing. It's gonna have some pretty messy complications, particularly when you talk about things like Social Security, the size of the national debt, stuff like that. So you're really gonna have to have a plan that's individualized, and it's gonna keep you and your family secure, because they're not gonna be in a position to save you. So overall, generally speaking, something as simple as that could be massive, because really the number one thing that any free person should have if they want to be free is a capital base. If you've got a capital base, and all that means is you have enough resources that can feed you when you're hungry, and put a roof over your head and keep you safe and all these other things, then you can do whatever you want in life. Okay. So do that for yourself, do that for your kids, make that part of your family plan. That's how you can succeed. That's how you can win. Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna go. They're running in the beach because they're the national champions. So I'm not gonna miss this. So thank you for forgiving me for ending our class a little bit early. We're gonna meet again next week. If you aren't a member of the Powernomics class, you can join for free. Just text the word greatness on your phone to the number 87948. So text greatness to 87948, and I'll invite you to Powernomics training every week. Also, the All Black National Convention, that's August 21st to the 23rd. You can go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. And then, of course, last but not least, we're doing stock options on Friday. I know a lot of you wanted to join our options income class. If you want to do that, you can go to drboyceprime.com. That's drboyceprime.com. And I sent you guys a link where you can join at a discount if that's something that you'd like to do for your family. So take care. Have a good day. God bless you. Thank you for listening, and I will see you all soon. Take care.